Hey everyone, and welcome to Rambling Reviews, where we analyze different types of media and or their cultural relevance. My name's Christian, and this is Modern Family Season 1, Episode 7, On Guard. This is the first of many episodes written by Danny Zucker, who has previously worked on shows such as the Aracino Hall Show, Just Shoot Mel, and Off Center. I've never heard of any of those shows, but he seems to do good work, at least as far as this is considered. He does actually get a cameo appearance later, as well in an episode, but we'll get to that when we get to that. It was directed as well by Randall. I forget my pronunciation here. I believe Einhorn. It's Einhorn. And he had previously done work on The Office as well as The Muppets. So, kind of interesting pairing there. Now, while the last episode had, I would say, better kind of, side plots, but the overall message was kind of lacking, with this episode, we actually have a pretty good overall message, and I wouldn't necessarily say the side plots are lacking per se. They definitely work to fit the overall, message at the end of the episode, as we'll get to, but I don't think they're necessarily as strong as I guess they could be. Still a good episode overall, but without further ado, let's get into it. We open with the whole family attending a fencing event, and it's pretty clear, as Manny is the one they're here to support, he is just a beast when it comes to fencing, just absolutely insane. This causes Jay to have just incredible, I would say admiration and just respect for Manny and pride and everything. And he even says like, oh, it's great to have a kid that really feels like a winner. And this prompts Mitchell and Claire, being his son and daughter respectively, to kind of feel a little bit slighted about this, and kind of Mitch makes a jab to Claire even about it, where he's like, well, yeah, it's definitely better than the first time, them. And we begin to see that there are some tensions kind of arising between Mitch and Claire in this department, and we'll get into the specifics of that later. But pretty quickly, I'd say we kind of get into like the overall premise of the episode, as we have one of those little interview segments with Claire and Phil, as they're basically discussing how their kids, the things that their kids are great at, and how basically you want to encourage your kids to be great at things. Everyone would of course want kids that are great at things, such of that nature. And they mentioned that Alex just excels at everything. I mean, she's basically like a kid genius, which could actually be a detriment, as I've come to understand that a lot of kids who are told that they're like gifted or anything like that growing up often will really struggle when it comes to anything that they have to put like real effort into. But they mentioned that she's just like, incredibly good at everything. And then they get to Alex and they're like, well, Alex, she's just so pretty. And, she can meet someone who's great at something. And then they get to Luke, where they're just like, yeah, we really dropped the ball on that one. As they try to think of what he's great at and can't really, think of anything. Now, I do want to just touch on real quick that comment about how basically Sarah doesn't need to be great at anything because she's pretty and can just like find someone, a man, who would be great at something. So, on one hand, that definitely kind of, reinforces the, sexist stereotype that a girl or woman just has to be pretty and she can like marry into success essentially. Um on the other hand, though, there are definitely women who are absolutely like that, who do just want to like coast through life and find somebody that already has like a bunch of money or whatever else it might be. And generally speaking, when people get into these arrangements, they understand that like the girl knows that the guy's primarily with her for like, her looks, to be like arm candy at special events, to, be hot for him, hopefully to be having some kind of, satisfying romantic and sex life, but oftentimes with trophy wives, that doesn't really happen at all. It's not really a good thing, I would say, for somebody to aspire to be a trophy wife, per se. But I understand, of course, this is something that's kind of being played more for laughs as they're, discussing it. But I still think it's worth, kind of bringing up and discussing in this, in, the way that I do, regardless. After the event and back at home, Cam realizes that something's up with Mitch and decides to confront him about it. Like, what's this hostility I'm sensing between you and Claire, essentially? And, Mitch is like, oh, there's nothing, it's nothing. And then he finally does open up. And it turns out that, so Mitchell and Claire used to be, when they were kids, they used to be um, an ice skating team. Now, I have no idea how, like, professional or even junior professional, for lack of a better word, level of ice skating or anything like that works. But they were a duo, kind of like those guys in, like, Blades of Glory. They were a duo, and they were called Fire and Nice. So you have this bit where, like, you got, like, this young Mitch, and props to the kids who played these people, by the way. I always wonder when they have one-off little shots like this, like, how do they go about casting someone for, okay, we're gonna take a picture of you for, like, this one-off joke in, like, a movie or TV show that you're gonna be in. Like, I always wonder how that works. But regardless, they were this kid duo ice skating team. And essentially, things went sour because, as Mitch explains to Cam, she bailed on him when they were getting ready to do this competition. And when Mitch explained what the competition was, and that, as he phrases it, it was the Emerald House or whatever to his Yellow Brick Road, like a Wizard of Oz reference, Cam even points out, wow, you actually just made figure skating sound even gayer than it already is. But Cam basically explains to Mitch that he thinks Mitchell should try to clear the air and get over this with Claire, which I very much agree. I don't think it's healthy for people in any kind of relationship to, like, let resentment fester and anything like that, which is very much what Mitch is doing here. So definitely discussing it, clearing the air, all that stuff is a very healthy way to, go about handling the situation. But back with the Dumfies, we have Phil trying to help Luke figure out what makes him special. And on this note, one thing that I want to say is, like, and again, don't want to be a parent, but, like, I think that the best thing to do for like, the best thing that a parent can do in this instance is don't try to, like, force your kid to be great at something, especially if they're not interested in it or something of that nature. More so, let them and, like, encourage them and help them try things that they might enjoy, but don't pressure them into, like, sticking with it. Growing up, my folks, more specifically my mom, kind of put me in different things that I didn't really have that much interest in. Like, I did bowling for a bit, and I was terrible at it. I was the worst one on the team, yet somehow we did win a trophy. I really liked music, so they tried to get me into this thing called Sonny LaRosa's Youngest Jazz Band, and they wanted they put an ad in the paper saying they wanted a guitarist. I did play guitar at the time, and I tried to, like, get in for that, but I didn't really know many chords and stuff, and they also didn't have an actual part for a guitarist yet. They were like, well, we're looking, but, like, we don't really have any songs yet that... Anyway, so I ended up sitting with the band for a bit and eventually learning trumpet because it looked easy. It only had 3 buttons, and I figured, okay, well, that's easy to learn on the side while I wait for them to actually have a guitar part. It was not easy. Not at all. In fact, if I could go back, I would choose to learn saxophone if I were to learn, like, a jazzy kind of instrument. But because of this, I was in, like, marching band in middle school. I left it in high school, but I was in marching band in middle school, and I didn't really want to, like, be in that environment. It wasn't the kind of music I wanted to do. And it was just, I've experienced that, like, from my folks, of kind of, like, that thing where your parents try to, like, make you do something that, like, they think you're good at or whatever, but you don't really have any interest in, so you don't really want to pursue it yourself. So I get that. and I would advise against putting that kind of pressure on a kid, but rather just like if they show interest in something, by all means, encourage them to do that. But anyway, um, getting like on that note, Phil is trying to help. As I said, Phil's trying to help Luke figure out what he's great at. So what they go for is him being the guy that throws the ball for the umpire, I think they're called, to catch it and like strike the guy pitcher. Luke being a pitcher for the umpire to catch. I don't know sports either. Like that's another thing I don't know. Just to be clear. So like, but anyway, he Phil's trying to get him to be a catcher, and I do know as much as like what baseball is supposed to look like, and I've played a little bit of baseball and kickball and stuff in elementary school. So what I do know is that when you're a pitcher, this is absolutely not what you're supposed to do. Luke is throwing the ball way over Phil's head. He's even jumping for it here. And, it just keeps getting lost on the roof, underneath the car, so many different instances. And, Phil's trying to play it off and everything, but clearly Luke is not pitching the way that a pitcher on a team actually would pitch. Meanwhile, at the Pritchett's, we see Jade so thrilled about how great Manny is at fencing. He even made up this little shirt with like a little fencing sword on it that says "Huda Manny." It's cute. And as Manny comes to him, delivers his sword, and he's like, "I'm retiring. I'm not going to be doing this anymore." To which they're asking like, "What are you like? Why? Why don't you want to do this anymore?" Like, and of course, Jay really wants him to do this because he wants them to be good at something. He wants them to get trophies, and he wants to be able to say, "Oh, that's my kid. I'm proud of him." All that kind of stuff, right? A lot of parents, of course, want to have that thing that they're proud of their kid for. It makes sense, but and once again, we have a moment where, of course, Gloria is very understanding about the situation. She's like, well, if he doesn't want to do it, but his heart's not in it, we shouldn't force him, that kind of thing, which, again, is true. Yes, encourage your kids to, or I should say parents should encourage kids to, do things that they enjoy, but and find things that they enjoy, but not force them to do something, especially, for the sake of like, being able to like live vicariously through their kid or anything like that. But this is something Manny really does enjoy, so of course it is odd that he's wanting to quit all of a sudden. But as he says, he doesn't want to quit because like he doesn't enjoy it anymore. He just doesn't want to fight a girl. To which this immediately gets switched. She's like, what? She's like, that's why you want to quit? No. She's like, what? You're afraid of like, beating her or something like that? And here's the thing, right? Or I guess losing to her. And here's the thing, right? Obviously, a very like commonly understood lose-lose situation a lot of guys find themselves in, especially in regards to sports and things of this nature, is you can't compete against a girl, especially in front of other people, because, and I don't remember, there was a great episode of, I want to say it was Zoe 101, but it could have been another show that I grew up with. But basically, it's you either lose and you got beat by a girl, or you win and you just beat up a girl, or you just beat a girl, like whatever it is, right? So it's like, it's a lose-lose situation. A lot of guys understand. It's something that a lot of girls and women, I don't think necessarily understand, because they think, oh, well, we just want to compete. We just want to, yeah, but there's this social stigma that if a man or guy beats you, then they're like either a dick, or if they lose, then they're a wuss. So it's like, it's a lose-lose situation. And that's what Manny finds himself in. But as Gloria encourages him, she's like, listen, don't worry about any of that. You take the sword and you beat her. She says something like, with the spirit of a bull or something like that. And I love this shot here because you really see, like, you see Jay just standing behind being really like, that's right, yes. And you see this, like, expression on Gloria's face, the like, passion and energy here. She's just like, you kick this girl's ass. Like, basically, that's what it comes down to. Now, Phil's day job is being a real estate salesman. So one day, I'm not entirely sure why, I don't know if this is a common thing people do with like when they have kids and they're in real estate or whatever, but he brings Luke along to sell a house. And this woman he's trying to sell the house to is basically saying like, yeah, I mean, it's nice and everything, but I don't know how kid-friendly it is. And Luke shows up and he's immediately like, Dad, like, this place is amazing. That back room, the backyard has so many like areas for tree houses. Like, this is incredible. I wish we lived here. And the mom is immediately like, wait, really now? The person who's trying to like who Phil's trying to sell the house to. She's like, really? Like, okay, like, tell me more, kid. And Phil goes like almost in a split second from being like, I need you to like go back and play and basically not disturb me, to being like, hey, why don't you stay here and tell her more about it? And he realizes like in this moment, as he then takes Luke back home and explains to Claire, dude's a genius. Like, I figured out what he's great at. He's great at selling. So that's what, and he's saying like, we can't go, like Luke and I can't go to this Manny's fencing tournament because I need Luke with me to make this sell. The woman's going to bring back her husband, and they're going to do all this, and the kid as well, and to make a final decision on the house. And he's like, Luke's a genius salesman. I need him. As the rest of the family gets to the fencing tournament, Cam basically forces Mitch to finally open up to Claire about what's bugging him. And, they discuss the whole fencing thing. And Claire tells him, she's like, look, the reason I dropped out was because I wanted to save you from embarrassment. You were dropping me all the time, and I didn't want you to drop me in front of all those people. And basically this whole thing has Mitch be like, I wasn't dropping you. He's like, I could, and he's really kind of like defensive about the whole thing. And he ends up, he like, they hug it out, and he tries to like, he actually tries to lift her, basically just to prove that he can. And she's like, are you trying to lift me? Like, what the hell? What is this? Like, because their whole thing is, this was years ago. Like, you need to get over it, essentially. And, while I, of course, understand her point, and she's right, things that happened even when you were a kid or just, several years ago, whatever, can definitely still affect you into your adulthood. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing with Mitch here. You have unresolved issues, whether it be trauma or just like maybe, things you missed out on that you want to like, I don't know, make up for lost time, or like, you feel like you owe something to like your past self in order to like get closure on something and move on properly with your life. Those are things I think that we all experience to a certain level. I know I certainly do. And it's something where like, yeah, it's not really a big deal, but to Mitch it is a big deal. So it's something that should be like, taken seriously and understood, and help him work through. Now, you could argue, of course, okay, well, therapy or counseling or something would help with that too, and you'd be right. But in this instance, just doing the thing and getting the closure will definitely help as well. But inside the actual tournament, we now have everybody waiting, for Manny to just crush the competition. And as we do, this woman shows up, and Gloria asks, she's like, oh, are you, I don't remember the girl's name, but are you her mother? And she's like, no, her parents actually died years ago. I'm her foster parent or something to that effect. And she basically just kind of gives this like sad story of what this girl went through. And Jay and Gloria are just like, so they're like a deer in headlights. So they're like, oh my God, we told him to not take it easy on and absolutely destroy this girl who's like an orphan and stuff. We gotta stop him before he like makes this even worse. But Phil's day isn't really going much better, as back at the sale, the real estate sale that he's trying to make, the house where he's trying to make the sale, he has Luke, and Luke's running around with this other family's kid. And as Phil is, explaining about how great the house is and all that, and the parents seem to be really buying into it, Luke falls down the stairs, and he immediately blames the stairs. So, he basically says how like, oh, it's these stupid stairs, the floor's too hard, all this stuff, right? And you can see as Phil is desperately trying to save this cell and desperately trying to help, of course, help Luke feel better, and also kind of like play it off like, come on, it's not really that big of a deal. You just see the energy drain from especially the mother's face, and you see the husband here just kind of like, okay, I guess this really isn't good for our kid after all. And this is Clearly going to cost Phil the sale. With Manny's tournament now, not only do we have the whole thing of the, orphan kid and all that, but now we see just a row of, I want to say disabled. I know there's a better word for that now, but differently abled. I guess that's a term, but these kids in like wheelchairs and on crutches and all these different things coming through to support the orphan girl that they're all with, right? And as Gloria and Jay see this, they're like, oh my god, like this is horrendous. We absolutely have to step in here. So as they try to communicate to Manny, hey, like cut it off, knock it off, don't, like, you gotta stop this. He's like, yeah, no, absolutely. he just he's like, no mercy, cutthroat. And I love this moment because it's such a hilarious moment of like misunderstanding and miscommunication, and it's just, I love it. Just outside, however, Mitch and Claire have yet another heart-to-heart as Mitch basically explains, look, it wasn't even about the skating or anything like that. I don't like skating. I liked doing this thing with you where we were on the same team. As he explains, we took different sides when Dad had his divorce, and I feel like we've just kind of been slipping away in general in recent years, and I just miss being on your team. And, this pulls at, Claire's heartstrings, so she's like, all right, you know what? Let's do this. And we have this sweet moment where she gets into a little, I don't know, figure skating pose, and Mitch does the same as they get ready for her to, I don't know what these moves are called or anything, but do the thing where he's gonna like lift her and all that, the big move they were gonna do at this tournament. Meanwhile, we have Manny absolutely destroying the competition as Jay and Gloria are just extremely mortified about the whole thing. At the same time, though, Cam and Claire are getting a win as they're getting to do this pose. Again, I don't know what it's called, but whatever this is for their tournament, and they're both getting this level of closure and getting to have this camaraderie that Mitch clearly missed and everything. So again, it's a really sweet moment. As Manny is destroying the competition inside, Gloria offers, hey, what if we take you guys all out for ice cream with us? And the caretaker is like, oh, she's diabetic, or she's lactose intolerant, whatever it was. And Jay's just like, yeah, of course she is. Because it's like, Jesus, just like one thing just piles on top of another here, and it's like, you can't win. Like, they're just trying to do the right thing, trying to make this situation better. And it's just like, no matter what they do, they can't win. They can't make this better. So they walk away with this trophy and everything. However, they, of course, they're just absolutely, again, just mortified, really is the best word, completely just humiliated about this whole situation. Jay and Gloria, that is. Manny just feels on top of the world because he won, But we have this cute little moment where Cam and Claire are, still out there dancing in the parking lot and everything. And I haven't really brought it up because it wasn't really, like, important yet, but basically, did I say Mitch and Claire? I might have said Cam, but that's because I'm thinking Cam actually has a camera as he's been videoing everything. He's that kind of guy that's like, oh, I gotta video everything we do, maybe take pictures, whatever it might be. That was always extremely annoying to me growing up, but whatever, some people are like that. And he captures this moment of them in the parking lot doing their dance and everything. They put it on YouTube and all that, and you're watching it later as a family and all that. Now, of course, this was 2009, so like being a partner on YouTube was a thing for sure, but it was weird because like you had to be partnered with a brand, like something like, I only know the ones that were for video game, for like Let's Players, like Machinima or Full Screen Arcade or something like that. You couldn't be partnered with YouTube directly like you can now. But I say that to point out that, this was a very different like era of YouTube and like social media in general, where people weren't really posting things to like make a career out of it and to like all that kind of stuff. It was more just like, hey, let me just post this like fun video, or let me post this like fun, like this opinion I have or whatever it is on something, rather than doing it for like engagement and clout and financial gain and all that. Not to say there's anything wrong with like making money out of that stuff. I've been very transparent about the fact that what I'm doing here, I am trying to make into an actual like a career, my job, as it were. But it's just, it was a very different, just a very different time. And as always, we have a little narration wrapping up everything and kind of, discussing the overall message, which is, kind of what I've been getting at about how, like, you want to push your kids to succeed. And every parent, of course, would want somebody who is, successful. But, at the end of the day, it's about still loving and supporting them no matter what, hoping, encouraging them to have fun throughout the things that they enjoy, and, things of that nature. But we have this sweet little moment here where Jay actually puts this trophy, Manny's first place trophy, right next to a picture frame of Mitch and Claire in their figure skating outfit. And I think this is just really cute because it shows that, Jay is very much taking pride in them as well, and having this level of like, yeah, like, here's this cool trophy, but we also have this sweet little, this picture of something that my other kids had done, and something else that I'm, equally proud of. I don't know, we don't know as an audience even if this was meant to be, you know after the fact, like maybe seeing them dance in the parking lot and everything inspired him to do this afterwards. Maybe he always had this here. We don't really know, but either way, it's a really nice, touch at the end. And as always, we of course have one of those, final scenes that just kind of lay on the comedy and end on a funny note, where we have Cam and Mitchell walking, through the parking lot, and Mitchell kind of realizing that Cam's a little upset that he and Claire had this little moment. He's like, "You want to lift me too, don't you?" He's like, "Yes, I do." And he's like, "All right." And so they do the little lift and all that stuff. And then we have a moment where Cam tries to have Mitch lift him. Of course, the camera cuts away like before he would actually topple him or whatever, but it's implied to be that he actually tried to have Mitchell carry him, and obviously he couldn't, so he topples him, and But yeah, that is the end of the episode. I definitely enjoyed it. I would say I enjoyed it overall, more than the last one, especially as far as like the overall message goes. There was this other little moment that I didn't really mention because it's not that important, but Haley makes fun of Alex for knowing when fencing starts, and Alex tells Haley that her phone dies because it needs static electricity, so rub it on her hair and she should get electricity and be able to, get it to charge the battery and all that. Just a little bit of kind of, sibling rivalry, and something where, like, Alex is kind of using the fact that Haley is not that bright to her advantage after Alec or Haley makes yet another jab at her, basically being some, someone who's not cool and not, really going to get attention from guys and stuff like that. Whereas Haley doesn't have a problem with either of those things. So, it's a, I think this kind of thing will come more into play and will be pieces of character development, and I hope they will, as we continue the series. But right now, at least, these are just little jabs that it makes sense for siblings to behave this way and everything. I don't really think it's that big of a deal, but I guess I should mention it regardless. Either way, though, yeah, no, I do think it was a really good episode overall. I like the kind of bit where Manny, and it kind of like played with expectations too, because like Manny doesn't want to fight the girl because of the losing situation I discussed earlier, but at the same time, once he's encouraged to beat her in fencing, we find out that she was just this like incredibly unfortunate girl in this situation, and that he just misreads everything and is like, yep, I'm still going to destroy her. We have that whole thing kind of played for laughs. We have the whole bit where like they're trying to figure out what Luke's good at, and oh, he's great at sales, but then oh no, I guess not. We're playing with expectations there. Oh, he's great at sales, but oh, he actually cost me a sale. Ooh. But all that kind of stuff. And of course, we have the whole thing with Claire and Mitch, with their figure skating and all that. And yeah, no, I enjoyed the episode overall, which I think we're really gonna see as we continue here, that's kind of like my overall analysis for the episode, is that, like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's got a good message, got some good heart, and it's very well very well done. Not perfect, nothing ever is, but still enjoyable, still fun. Definitely recommend giving it a watch. And that's it. On to the next one. But as always, these are just my thoughts. Let me know what yours are in the comments down below. Follow me on social media for more. Subscribe and ring the bell to stay up to date. Leave a like if you like, and if not, hope you find something to do like. Later, guys. Peace and love.